Tonight, when the sun goes down, something in you will change. You'll flip on a light without thinking. You'll close the curtains. You'll feel, just for a second, a small flicker of unease if the power goes out. It's nothing, just a habit. Right? But the real answer is far stranger. That flicker isn't a habit at all. It's a message. A message sent to you from a brain that is millions of years older than electricity, older than fire, older than the idea of a house with walls. Your fear of the dark isn't really about the dark. It's about what used to live in it. Let's go back. Not a few decades, not a few centuries. Back to a time before your species had a name. For most of human history, night was not a break from danger. Night was danger. There were no streetlights, no locked doors, no walls thick enough to matter. When the sun dropped below the horizon, your ancestors lost the one sense they relied on more than any other: sight. And in that darkness, something else was waiting. Large cats, hyenas, snakes that could strike before a sound was even made. Predators that had spent millions of years evolving specifically to hunt in low light. Their eyes were built for it. Yours were not. So what did your ancestors do with that mismatch? They adapted. Not their eyes. Their behavior. Researchers studying primate sleep patterns have found something remarkable. Evolutionary biologist Charles Nunn, who has spent years studying sleep across species, discovered that primates sleeping in higher-risk environments tend to sleep less deeply, wake more often, and cluster together at night. Not because they enjoy company, because a group of sleeping bodies is harder to ambush than one. Does that sound familiar? Think about how uneasy it feels to be home alone at night. Think about how a house feels safer the moment someone else walks in the door. That isn't a modern feeling. That's a memory with no image attached to it, just a feeling passed down through hundreds of thousands of generations. Here's where it gets stranger. Your brain isn't just afraid of predators in general, it's tuned to specific shapes, specific movements, specific things. Primatologist Lynn Isbell has spent decades researching something called the snake detection theory. Her research suggests that the primate visual system, the very one you're using right now, may have evolved specifically to detect snakes faster than almost anything else in the environment. Coiled shapes, slithering movement. Even a garden hose left on the floor can trigger a flicker of alarm before your conscious mind catches up and says, "Relax, it's just a hose." Why would evolution build a warning system for one specific animal? Because for millions of years, snakes were one of the few predators small enough, quiet enough, and fast enough to kill a primate before it ever saw the attack coming. The primates who reacted first, who felt the fear before they understood why, were the ones who survived long enough to have children. The primates who hesitated did not. You are, quite literally, descended from the ones who were afraid. Now here's the twist that changes everything. Fear like this doesn't disappear just because the danger does. Evolutionary psychiatrist Randolph Nesse describes something he calls the smoke detector principle. A smoke detector is designed to go off far more often than there's an actual fire. Because the cost of a false alarm, a little noise, a little annoyance, is nothing compared to the cost of missing a real fire, your fear response works the same way. It would rather be wrong 1,000 times than be wrong once when it actually matters. That's why your brain still sounds the alarm at 2 a.m., even though there hasn't been a leopard in your neighborhood for tens of thousands of years. The system isn't broken. It's just doing exactly what kept your ancestors alive. It doesn't know the world has changed. It only knows what worked before. Think about that for a second. Every time you felt a small jolt of fear walking to your car in an empty parking lot, that isn't irrational. That's an ancient alarm system, still fully operational, still convinced it's protecting you from something with teeth. So what happens when there's genuinely nothing there? When you're just lying in bed, lights off, and your mind starts filling in shapes in the shadows? That's your visual system doing something called pareidolia, the tendency to see meaningful patterns, especially faces or figures, in random or ambiguous shapes. In daylight, this same tendency shows you a face in a cloud or a smile on the front of a car. At night, with less information to work with, It can just as easily turn a coat on a chair into a crouching shape. Your brain isn't malfunctioning. It's doing what it always does, guessing. And in low light, with high stakes, it guesses toward danger rather than safety because across evolutionary history, that guess cost less than the alternative. A false alarm means you lost a little sleep. A missed threat meant you lost your life. Which brings us to children. If you've ever watched a child insist on a nightlight or refuse to walk into a dark room alone, you've watched this ancient system in its rawest form. Studies on childhood fears consistently find that fear of the dark peaks between the ages of about 2 and 6, right around the time children become mobile enough to wander off from the group, but aren't yet strong or fast enough to defend themselves. It isn't a phase they need to be talked out of. It's a feature, arriving exactly on schedule, doing exactly its job. And then, slowly, most people grow out of it. Or at least, they think they do. They don't. They just get better at ignoring it. The unease is still there. It just gets quieter, buried under years of locks, alarms, streetlights, and the learned confidence that nothing is actually waiting in the closet. But turn off every light in an unfamiliar house, and watch how quickly that confidence disappears. Watch how quickly your footsteps get lighter, your ears get sharper, your eyes start scanning corners you'd never even glance at during the day. That isn't you being childish. That's you being exactly what you were built to be. Here's the part most people never think about. This fear didn't just shape your nights. It shaped your species. The need to survive the dark is one of the reasons humans learned to control fire. Fire didn't just cook food and provide warmth. It pushed back the boundary of night itself. It gave early humans a small circle of light to sit inside, to sleep inside, to feel briefly, finally, safe inside. Some researchers argue that the campfire, more than almost any other invention, is the reason humans began gathering in groups after dark to talk, to tell stories, to bond. The dark didn't just threaten your ancestors, it built your culture. Every story ever told around a fire exists because something out there in the dark needed to be kept at bay. So the next time the lights go out, and that small familiar unease creeps in, don't brush it off as silly. It isn't silly. It's ancient. It's the same signal that kept a small, slow, clawless primate alive on a planet full of things that wanted to eat it. It's the reason you're here to feel anything at all. Tonight, when the sun goes down, you'll flip on a light without thinking. But now you'll know exactly what you're really switching off.